Okay, you guys, in this calculus lesson, we're going to learn two new rules, derivatives by quotient and product rule. Okay, so far, you guys, the derivative of a constant is equal to 0. The power rule is you bring this power down out in front, and then you subtract it by 1 right there, the new power, so that would be the derivative. Okay, trig, the derivative of sine is cosine, and the derivative of cosine is opposite sine. All right, so here's the product rule, you guys. So when you're multiplying two functions together and you're taking the derivative, then it's the derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second. Okay, and then quotient is the derivative of the first times the second minus the first times the derivative of the second, all over the second one squared. Okay, and usually you just leave it as squared on the bottom. Don't FOIL it out or anything. Okay, so find the derivative of each. Here we go. All right, so y equals x squared cosine x. Okay, so this one's going to be a product rule. So here's f of x is x squared, g of x is cosine of x. So I'm going to use the product rule. Okay, so f prime g plus g or plus fg prime. Okay, so you end up getting 2x cosine x minus x squared sine x. Okay, easy enough. That one's easy. All right, let's try this one here. Okay, looks like a product rule again. So if I go product rule, the derivative of the first times the second, and then plus the first times the derivative of the second. And when I do all of that, I get to that. And then when I distribute and FOIL and clean it up, I get that function right there. Okay, looks like a lot of work. You can save yourself some time by just foiling this stuff out first. Before you take the derivative, use your algebra skills and FOIL that out, and you get to this right there when you FOIL it out. Here it is foiled. Here it is combining like terms, and then derivative of that is 0. The derivative of that is 1. Negative 14x, negative 24x minus 8x cubed. Okay, it would have been easier just to FOIL it out first. Okay, so kind of think ahead, you guys. And okay, on this one's a quotient rule, so I'm going to go ahead and use my quotient rule. The derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, all over the second one squared. Okay, and I get that as the answer right there. All right, let's see. Let's try another quotient rule right here. Okay, so derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second over the second one squared. Okay, and I said earlier, just leave that squared. Don't FOIL that out and get a big fat mess. It'll just get messier and look more complicated. Just leave it just like that. Okay, yeah, and then so let's go ahead. The derivative of this guy is 1. The derivative of this guy, I'll show you right here. Y equals square root of x is the same as y equals x to the 1/2, and I included that negative right there. There's that negative, that minus sign right there. So when I take the derivative of this 1/2 comes down, and 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. So that's what I get that negative 1/2 in right there. So that's this guy right here. Okay, that's this guy right here. All right, and then when I clean that up, I get that guy right there. And I don't like fractions in fractions, so I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 2. Okay, that's just 1 right there, so it's not going to change the value. So times 2 times 2 times 2 all the way through on top. And I get that. And then these guys are now like terms, like radicals. So negative 2 root x plus 1 root x gives me the negative 1 root x. Okay, just leave it like that. Like I said, leave that denominator there. Much cleaner than if you would have FOILed that out. All right, so hints for some easier algebra before you take the derivative. If you get something sort of like that, fractions in fractions, get rid of the double fractions, you guys. I'd multiply everything by x, by the common denominator, x times x times x times x, and it'll clean it up a lot easier before you start taking a derivative. Okay, if you get something like that, don't use quotient rule, you guys. This 6 is actually, this is over 6, and then this is over 6. You can split it up, you guys, and then 3/6 is 1/2. So split it up, and then use your power rule from one of your first lessons. Okay, and if you see something like that, I would change it to that and use your power rule on that stuff. All right, easy enough. Okay, if you're in my class, that would be your homework assignment. Take care, you guys.